on Capitol Hill. We are now 4 hours into the testimony in the impeachment inquiry of U.S. President Donald Trump.
8 witnesses in 3 days are facing lawmakers, 4 of them today. And so far, we've been hearing from Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, the top Ukraine expert at the National Security Council, and Jennifer Williams, a senior aide to Vice President Mike Pence. Both of them were on the July 25th call between President Trump and his Ukrainian counterpart, and both raised concerns about it. Here's a little bit to rewind of what they told lawmakers earlier about that call.
I was concerned by the call. What I heard was inappropriate, and I reported my concerns to Mr. Eisenberg. It is improper for the President of the United States to demand a foreign government investigate a U.S. citizen and a political opponent. I was also clear that if Ukraine pursued an investigation, it was also clear that if Ukraine pursued an investigation into the 2016 elections, the Bidens and Burisma, it would be interpreted as a partisan play. This would undoubtedly result in Ukraine losing bipartisan support, undermining U.S. national security, and advancing Russia's strategic objectives in the region.
I found the July 25th phone call unusual because, in contrast to other presidential calls I had observed, it involved discussion of what appeared to be a domestic political matter.
In his opening statement, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman also described a July 10th meeting that he attended before that infamous call. It included Ukrainian officials, U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton, and the U.S. Ambassador to the EU, Gordon Sondland. Here's some of what Vindman said about what happened there.
On July 10, 2019, Alexander Danylyuk, then Ukraine's National Security Advisor, visited Washington, D.C. for a meeting with National Security Advisor Bolton. Ambassadors Volker and Sondland, and Secretary Rick Perry also attended the meeting I attended with Dr. Hill. We fully anticipated the Ukrainians would raise the issue of a meeting between the presidents. Ambassador Bolton cut the meeting short when Ambassador Sondland started to speak about the requirement that Ukraine deliver specific investigations in order to secure the meeting with President Trump. Following this meeting, there was a short debriefing during which Ambassador Sondland emphasized the importance of Ukraine delivering the investigations into the 2016 elections, the Bidens and Burisma. I stated to Ambassador Sondland that this was inappropriate and had nothing to do with national security.
So far, it has been a highly contentious hearing right along party lines, as expected, with continued attempts from Republicans to disparage the record of Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, and including from the White House itself, tweeting out something about Vindman as that hearing has proceeded live. Following all of this live for us on Capitol Hill is J.D. Durkin. He's Washington bureau chief of our partner network, Cheddar. J.D., there is a lot to comb through here. We just saw a couple of the short highlights. What have been some of your key takeaways from the 4 hours plus that we've heard so far?
I think on the Democratic side, really the key takeaways have been their insistence to drill down on the opportunity here to finally hear from firsthand witnesses with intimate details and personal kind of knowledge and acknowledgments about that July 25th phone call. I think that up until now, really the big running Republican criticism has been Democrats have been unable to call any firsthand witnesses. Republicans have said this has been a secondhand, a thirdhand, a hearsay-based process. That fundamentally changes today. As for the Republican side, like you just hinted at, I would say the GOP strategy has been interesting. You did have an effort there from Steve Castor, who is the Republican side appointed prosecutor, to somewhat hint at questioning the loyalty of Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, but they walk a remarkably tough line in doing so. This is very clearly a very well-decorated Army infantry official, someone who has served this country admirably for quite some time, someone who unabashedly has put his devotion to the red, white, and blue before any particular allegiance to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, and kind of watching Republicans walk that tightrope line has been interesting. And the other strategy, of course, for GOP officials has been repeatedly to draw back the conversation at any and all times, it seems, to the role of the son of the former Vice President Joe Biden. References to Hunter Biden, I should say, has certainly been something that has come up an awful lot in the last few hours.
And, J.D., there has been also another strategy notable from the Republican Congress representatives here, and that is the identity of the whistleblower.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. We first kind of watched this issue come up earlier with Devin Nunes, that's the ranking member, kind of this remarkable exchange where he started to kind of put pressure on Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman. And now, objectively here, we do have a bit more information, right? We now know there are other people in the intelligence community that he talked to, but he would not go into detail with the identity of those people. Devin Nunes tried to push him. We had this rare moment where the personal counsel, the lawyer for Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, tries to come in and kind of intercept that line of question, and Adam Schiff repeating to say this is not a proceeding where the identity of the whistleblower is supposed to be what we are going after. And now that we are well into the 5-minute portion where member after member of the House Intelligence Committee are questioning, you're seeing a lot of Republicans now largely cede their remaining minutes into the hands of the Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, who is really only on the House Intelligence Committee for this very process. He continues to bring this back into the whistleblower here, and I think that's going to continue to be what we largely see out of the GOP playbook as the official impeachment inquiry phase of all this continues.
JD, and this day is really probably not even halfway through, still a long day ahead. Give us a bit of a preview what we can expect, because there are 2 more people testifying, 2 former officials who are also key to almost all of what we've heard today.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, one of them is going to be Tim Morrison. He will be the 3rd official of the day with intimate firsthand knowledge of what exactly was said on that July 25th phone call, though there seems to be a bit of separation between Tim Morrison and Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman. I look for Republicans to try and capitalize specifically on that. And then we're going to hear from the former envoy to Ukraine, Kurt Volker. This is someone who's part of the so-called group of 3 amigos himself, Ambassador Gordon Sondland, as well as outgoing Energy Secretary Rick Perry. He's going to speak presumably much more on this pressure campaign in the role of the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani. We've heard a few references here to Mr. Giuliani earlier today, a few jokes that were even cracked during the back and forth, but I expect this afternoon session is going to feature a lot more when it comes to open revelations about what exactly was that behind-the-scenes, almost shadow foreign policy initiative that were set off by the president's personal attorney, as Democrats look to increasingly perhaps look to make the case that this these unsavory details draw themselves directly into the inner halls of the Oval Office itself.
All right, J.D. Durkin on Capitol Hill, thanks so much for being with us. A long day ahead, as we mentioned. These are just the first 2 that we've been hearing from the last 4 hours of 8 different key witnesses this week in 3 days.
And certainly some very dramatic testimony, especially from Lieutenant Colonel Vindman there.